Hulk Hogan was the biggest star in professional wrestling, and yet a lot of misleading information surrounding Hulk Hogan persists. Lies, things like he was a narcissist, he had a tendency to reorder time itself, and he was very close to several major historical events, a bit like an orange Forrest Gump. Well, in this video, don't worry, we are going to clarify these mistruths. I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture, and these are 10 fascinating WWE backstage facts about Hulk Hogan. Number 10. Hulk Hogan was the first to notice Kevin Owens. You see, Hogan always did have an eye for talent. He spent much of his career mentoring the hot new prospect Ed Brutus Beefcake Leslie, who with his parade of gimmicks proved himself one of the most versatile wrestlers in the history of the business. And one young prodigy in particular caught his eye. I'm talking of Kevin Steen. Hogan told Steve Austin on the Steve Austin Show in 2019 that nobody was high on Owens within WWE except him. He knew where the money was. He knew WWE had something with that cat. And wouldn't you just know it, Owens went on to headline back-to-back WrestleManias. Thanks, Hulkster. Number 9. Hulk Hogan almost joined Metallica. Now, he didn't end up joining the thrash metal pioneers. He turned up to audition, but as a raw garage outfit at the time, they weren't interested. Lars Ulrich walked over and said, "Oi, no professional session musicians." Hogan took down his strap and replied, "I'm not a professional." I mean, Hogan did write some of their songs, but he said he could have them for free because, well, he was making a shitload in wrestling. Creeping Death was inspired by the dying child he encountered at Wembley Stadium when wrestling at SummerSlam 92. The Unforgiven is a lament covering that time the WWE locker room refused to accept his very sincere and heartfelt apology for being exposed as a racist. And The Call of Cthulhu was so influential that a young horror writer and Hulkamaniac, H.P. Lovecraft, developed an entire mythos around it. Number 8. Hulk Hogan was too scary for Mike Tyson. Hulk Hogan was meant to wrestle Mike Tyson once upon a time, as Hogan himself has confirmed every now and again over the years. But why didn't it happen? The baddest man on the planet took one look at the big leg, and his shorts filled with dookie. Usually when Mike Tyson would punch somebody full force on the jaw, they'd be knocked unconscious, saliva would pool under their lips, and they'd take an undignified bloody dump the next day. But, well, Hogan was immortal. He would simply hulk up after taking the right uppercut. And also, Hogan would have defeated Tyson in a wrestling match too. Tyson wasn't in the game, Jack. Hogan was a 6-time WWE World Champion, a 6-time WCW World Champion, and was the inaugural IWGP Heavyweight Champion. Also, it was fought under boxing rules, Hogan would have won that match too, because Hogan holds a 1-0 record in the sport, having defeated Philly legend Rocky Balboa. Number 7. Hulk Hogan broke his back slamming Andre the Giant. Immortality comes at a price. Hulk Hogan has to endure the rest of his life knowing that his curse of inhuman strength might have had something to do with the end of another. At WrestleMania 3, Hulk Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant for the very first time and to death. I mean, sure, you might have seen YouTube compilations of other wrestlers, Stan Hansen, Antonio Inoki, even Hogan himself achieving this very same feat, but come on, guys, that's just AI. Who even knows what's real and what isn't anymore? Apart from Hulkamania, of course, brother. That body slam, though, came at a cost. In finding the strength within him to lift the 600-pound Andre off his feet, Hogan tore 18 muscles in his back, and there are just 40. Hogan miraculously didn't return within a year. He returned within 3 weeks to resume his house show run. As awful as the pain was to withstand, it was nothing, though, compared to Andre's tragic plight. Andre passed away just 3 days later on April the 1st, 1987, and definitely never wrestled again. I said never again. Number 6. Hulk Hogan invented time travel. Now, you may think that a year contains 365 days. Wrong. There are more days in the year than the mere 365, as Hulk Hogan once discovered, in order to wrestle more matches than the average bone bender. All you have to do in order to reach a cool 400 is to fly frequently between the US and Tokyo in order to capitalize on the time difference, idiot. But what are you going to do with those extra 35 days of the year? I mean, that's over a full month. Well, you could subscribe to this channel for more excellent and 100% factual videos like this one. Number 5. Hulk Hogan is a clairvoyant. Hulk Hogan boasted a quite incredible grasp of the crowd. Really, in the annals of wrestling history, nobody was better at whipping people into a frenzy. His act was the same for years and years, but he knew exactly what to do and when to shatter every decibel level. You could say he had a sixth sense for that that sort of thing? Hulk Hogan was a great man, an American hero, and was beloved by his peers. So much so, in fact, that many of them, intuiting their imminent demise, cleared any lingering tension with Hogan before they passed on. He reconciled with Randy Savage months before his death. Hogan was also simply present when others were about to make their passage too. He shared a flight with Kerry Von Erich just 72 hours before he died, as if his goodness guided him towards the light. And similarly, while he could not stand the stench of imminent death, Hogan also encountered a dying child at Wembley Stadium in 1992, as recounted to Muscle and Fitness last year. Hogan knew it was the child's time. He hugged him goodbye, and when he went backstage after his match against whom isn't important, it was just on the undercard, the child had gone. Recently, Hogan, elaborating on his gift, also shared a touching story of a meeting held beyond this plane with Roddy Piper. Speaking with the 100 Club, Hogan revealed that he received a voice message from Piper 2 days after his death. Piper was walking with Jesus and loving you, my brother. It's amazing how things work, Hogan marveled. Piper, phone in hand in the clouds, contacted Hogan from heaven. Piper didn't contact his family first, but then again, that is the power of Hulkamania. Number 4, Hulk Hogan turned down the leading role in The Wrestler. Hulk Hogan was an accomplished actor. When graciously allowing the next generation of stars to take over the wrestling world, he ventured to Hollywood. In Mr. Nanny, a contemplative portrait of the American family, Hogan displayed an unexpected sensitivity as the man who administered much-needed life lessons to an absentee father. Sadly for Hogan, this life-affirming tale went against the grungy, nihilistic Gen X zeitgeist. Its profound message was lost, ignored. However, much like The Thing and Once Upon a Time in America, Mr. Nanny has since been reappraised as a masterpiece in critical circles. Hogan was actually nominated for an Academy Award for his portrayal of Sean Armstrong, but deciding it wasn't fair on the other actors, withdrew from consideration because he was just a grateful visitor in their world. Perhaps scarred by his experience as a thespian that went unappreciated in his own time, Hogan, despite director Darren Aronofsky claiming to know nothing of this, actually turned down the role of Randy the Ram Robinson in The Wrestler, feeling he didn't deserve it. You know what? What other roles do you think Hogan would have excelled in? 007? Batman? E.T.? Why not let us know in the comment section below. Number 3. Hulk Hogan actually influenced Brett Hart. Hulk Hogan was an innovator, impossible in his musculature, a man who mastered the marketable cartoon aesthetic, a total power wrestler who didn't need to do much but slam his foes around. Hogan inspired many. The Ultimate Warrior, Hercules, that plagiarist superstar Billy Graham, among others. But you might be surprised to learn that Hogan also held a profound influence over Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, it may seem as if few similarities exist between the two men, but Hogan dragged out the genius technician lurking within Hart eventually. As he recounted on Bubba the Love Sponge's radio show last year, Hogan once said in a backstage promo with Bret within earshot that he was the greatest there is, greatest there was, and greatest there ever will be, brother. Bret callously stole that very real catchphrase, but on the plus side, was inspired to match Hogan's technical prowess in the years since. Number 2. Hulk Hogan's leg was broken on the first day of wrestling training. Back in the territory days, breaking in wasn't easy. Veteran trainers would brutalize aspiring wrestlers in order to make sure they weren't under the misleading impression that wrestling is fake. If they wanted in, they had to know that it hurt. Hiro Matsuda trained Hulk Hogan, and Hiro took his philosophy to a very real extreme when he legitimately broke Hogan's leg on his very first day.
It'll be months before you come back, that's if you ever do,
Matsuda said. But then something happened. Hulk started to convulse. He didn't feel the pain. He thrashed his head from side to side and pointed at his trainer. You! His voice boomed, and after a stern point, Hogan dropped Matsuda with a big boot. And as Matsuda lay prone in the practice ring, Hogan fired off the ropes and crushed Matsuda's face under his rippling thigh. Brutus Beefcake, who Matsuda had put in a wheelchair by breaking his back a few months earlier, rose up with tears in his eyes and applauded magic back onto his feet through the magic and the very birth of Hulkamania. And it was on that day that the leg drop was born as Hulk's legendary finisher. Number 1. Hulk Hogan was a bigger star than Mick Jagger. In an old interview with fading British institution Jonathan Ross, Hogan once revealed that he was a bigger star than Mick Jagger. In fact, Hogan put Mick Jagger in his place. The promoter of the Pontiac Silverdome personally called Hogan 2 weeks removed from WrestleMania 3 because he had bad news. The show couldn't go ahead, you see, despite opening himself up to significant legal risk by cancelling the event. The promoter was too fearful on Hogan's behalf. The Rolling Stones were in town the Sunday prior, and the fear was that Jagger and co. might outdraw him. Now, while it is alleged that the Rolling Stones didn't tour at all in 1987, unfortunately, that is another lie. As it turns out, the promoter needn't have worried. Hogan drew 94,000, a number incidentally higher than that drawn by the Pope. Hogan said that didn't matter. He was preaching gospel in the ring, so everybody got their dose. Hogan is basically a man of the cloth. As an ordained religious registrar, Hogan could thus officiate your wedding. Well, depending on who you choose as your husband. So there you have it, the record put straight. And if you like this video about backstage facts, why not check out this one, which is a little bit closer to reality, all about the dead man, on your screen right now. Cheers!